Hey, everybody. Welcome to this brand new ZoomCast. Yours truly, J. Alain Smith. And we've got one of the greatest big game professional hunters of all time with us. He's also a TV host. But what I love about the guy is he's also the leading voice across Africa for sustainable use conservation. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Ivan Carter.
Hey, bud, how are you? So good to see you. And I love you rocking that blue shirt there. I mean, I don't know really what to think about it. I like the pattern, but that color suits you.
How about that? Can you even see me while I'm wearing it?
I can see your hair.
Yeah, it kind of sticks out. Okay, so first question is, how's all the hunkering down going and being stuck in your house? Now, where are you right now? Are you in?
So I'm in South Africa right now, and I've been indoors, well, not indoors, but we've been at our place now for 6 weeks, which is the longest I think ever in my life as a working adult that I've been in one place. So, I'm driving my kids mad, I'm driving my wife mad, and but yeah, there's a bit of that going on. Don't you worry. There's actually, it looks like we probably feeling a bit of each other's pain.
That was just taken last night, by the way. That's the lovely Miss Shelley said to say hello, and she wishes that you and I were together right now, and she wasn't having to tolerate me.
Well, let me tell you, as soon as this lockdown's over, Ashley's going to get me on the first plane out of here.
Yeah, this is, in all the time I've known her, this is the longest that we've ever been together, and actually, it's great, and we're so madly in love and everything else. But I think some social distancing pretty quick would be in good order.
No, exactly. And really, to be honest, I think that there's a huge amount of life lessons that come from this sort of thing. We've, in the beginning, I really didn't know what we were going to spend the time doing. But, we've spent a lot of time streamlining our systems, really identifying who we are as a foundation, where we want to go, how we want to get there. And, the stuff that people like you and I travel so many days every year. I fly nearly 200,000 miles. And, the reality is you just don't have time to do things as well as you would like. So, catching up on 1,000 loose ends, all that, well, we'll get to that someday. Well, guess what? We've had a 6-week someday.
Yeah, I'm kind of running out of projects, but so for you, it's in the evening there. So you just had dinner?
We've just had dinner. We just had a really nice filet. And looks like you've got, I like that little yellow umbrella. Goes with the blue shirt, bud.
We're just having breakfast here. So we're just getting started with the day here.
Looks like your lockdown's going pretty rough.
Yeah, I might die of alcoholism by the time it's all over, but it won't be from COVID. So, okay, so the first question that comes out from everybody whenever they think of Ivan Carter is, now you've faced charging lions, you've got some of the greatest video of charging elephants. What's been your scariest moment, if you can just pick one that has ever happened to you?
I think what it comes down to is it's not really about the animal, but it's about the people with you. And we were in some really thick jess bush, which is an incredibly thick tangle of bush in the Zambezi Valley. And an elephant cow came out of the bush. She absolutely wasn't going to stop. We actually did end up having to shoot her, but the guy behind turned to run away and he tripped. And as I took a step back, I tripped over him. So you got this elephant cow coming in. She's 4 or 5 yards away. You're lying on your back. The guy's terrified and trying to get away. And that was because of that sudden loss of control where suddenly everything is out of control. That was probably the closest I've ever come to kind of thinking it's going to be the day, I think that really when you look at it, at the end of the day, through social media, through public opinion, we've got really squeezed into a corner, Alain, where we can't show what we're really all about. Yeah. And we end up focusing so much on the peripheral stuff and whatever. But the reality is people come to Africa to pursue big game. That's the reality. They don't come to Africa to dig a well or build a village, or that's not the reason. It may be the benefit, make no mistake, but it's absolutely not the reason. And I think we've got lost in trying to explain our reason too much. And I think that, I always liken it to playing golf, and people kind of look at me weird when I say that. I'm not a golfer, but if you don't understand the game of golf and you don't want to play golf, you'll never understand the people that do. And I think the same is with hunting. And people say, well, it's much deeper than that. And I really don't think it is. I think that we've overcomplicated it in this conversation to try and get away from the kind of killing side of it or whatever. And, to be honest, Alain, that is what drives people to come to Africa and spend giant amounts of money. And that money, when properly used, is the very cornerstone of an exceptional conservation piece,
And you're a perfect example of when we talk about sustainable use conservation with your foundation now that you're, doing all these great projects with. You can take hunters' dollars and hands-on in the field. The difference between a lot of these conservation organizations and yours is that you're there and your fingers are in it. You're doing the work. So when hunters' dollars come in or conservation dollars come into your programs, you're there doing it. I mean, a great example is that fantastic work you guys have done with the lions in Mozambique. I mean, that project, tell us about how that all got going.
It was really interesting, Alain. It literally started with a fireside conversation with Mark and Glenn Haldane, who for 20 years have poured their life's blood into that area. And, the anti-poaching has been fantastic. The wildlife has come back about 3,000%. And we just were sitting around the fire one day and said, imagine one day if we could sit here and hear the roar of a lion. The lions had been poached out probably 30 years before that conversation. And so my mind started going and Mark's mind started going, and both of us are kind of get up and go kind of guys. And we said, okay, well, let's chat to the Cabela family. And so we chatted to Dan and then subsequently Mary Cabela, and we got them on board, the financial piece of it. And Alain, in mid-2018, we translocated 24 lions back into that area. And as we look at it today, it's, we've got over 50 lions. We're discovering new cubs all the time. All of the seed population is collared, so we know where they're moving. And it's just been such a lesson in conservation, such a great hands-on project. And, as it stands there, it's the largest lion recovery project that's ever happened in history. And so we've got 2 million acres of wild lion habitat because of a small group of people with zero politics and zero agenda except conservation that dared to dream. And I know that sounds cheesy, but the reality is sometimes just daring to dream about something and saying, what if? Well, let's try. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Well, when you can team up with great conservationists like the Cabelas, I mean, there's people that are putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, they've stepped up time after time for great programs like that, and we sure thank them. And all the stuff that they do with the stores and all that as well. Cabela's is, Bass Pro Shop, great companies. But in those kinds of projects, I know there's the hunting related projects, but I think what a lot of people also don't realize is that hunters' dollars are going to help animals that are not even on the hunting radar. As an example, all the work you're doing with the chimpanzees.
Yeah, I think that taking a step back even, you take an area like Qatada 11 and you look at our lion recovery program, by virtue of protecting the area for lions, Alain, what's ended up happening is every butterfly, every frog, every tree, every plant is protected as well, because there's no point protecting a particular species if you're not protecting the habitat to go with it.
Yep.
And so one of the things, as you mentioned, that really inspired me, we were doing a series called Carter's War, where each episode we would find a wildlife conflict, and then through the course of the episode, we would get fully embedded with that conflict, try and understand it, try and understand some of the solutions. And one of the things that we found ourselves in the middle of Congo was this live trade in baby chimpanzees. And we looked at this project that was very underfunded, very poorly funded, a project that really with very little money, we could get it back on its feet. And so we've ended up diving very deeply in there. I think we're hoping to translocate the chimps that are in our care and release them into a giant forest reserve here within the next few years. But, Alain, when you get to a place and people are running on raw passion, I mean, the two girls that were running it, they hadn't been paid a proper salary in many months. The sanctuary itself was just limping along, and they were putting their own money into the chimpanzee feed and so on. And, to see a group of people come together, and, we got together with Jack Brittingham, and he held a party for us, and we literally kicked off. I mean, they got the first vehicle that they'd ever had that was reliable. We got uniforms for the staff. For the first time, the management had running water in their home, and little things that we take so for granted, that in the third world it's not particularly expensive, but if you don't have money, you don't have money. And so our foundation's been engaged there. This is year 6, and it's probably gone from being one of the least good sanctuaries on the continent to one of the best, and with a viable release program that we're going to hopefully, put 60 of our 90 chimpanzees back into the wild here, hopefully within the next couple of years, and use them as the excuse to protect this enormous equatorial rainforest.
Fantastic. Win-win once again. And I can tell you from personal experience, when I was in Cameroon one time and also in Liberia, I experienced people trying to sell, live chimps, little baby ones that they, take from the mother. They kill the mother and then they can sell them. And it's, talk about heartbreaking and the most disgusting, thing you've ever seen. Unfortunately, there's a market out there. Now, what somebody's going to do with a live chimp, I have no idea. They have no idea how their hands are going to be so full, because a little chimp grows into a big chimp, and you can't.
And they can last 40 years old, Yeah.
So
they're 98% the same DNA as us. So they're incredibly intelligent. They need a huge, we have these amazing carers, Alain, that one day we've got to get you to that project. You see these people, they're with these babies 24/7, and literally every mouthful that baby has, he has from his surrogate mother, and they assume that responsibility for years until the chimp is an adolescent, and we've integrated it fully with another group. And then, they have these huge forest enclosures that we've got. But, the reality is when you look at what people will do for money, it's an amazing thing. When you look at what's happened to rhinos across Africa, you look at poaching, and really it's all driven by one thing. It's driven by money. And Alain, as we look at Africa today, with these COVID-19 shutdowns, I would be pretty confident in saying there's not a single tourist in Africa today. There may be a few people that have gotten stuck here, but there's no one hunting. There's no one looking. Kruger National Park, which is just an hour from us, they normally have 1 million tourists a year. A lot of those are local tourists. They haven't had a single person through their gates in the last 6 weeks. And you can imagine what that does to the financial model, the hunter's dollar that ends up supporting families, supporting anti-poaching, supporting science and research and everything else. The photographic tourism model, which has hundreds of people all coming and paying park fees, and none of that's going on right now. The Ngorongoro Crater is even empty.
Yeah.
And, one worries that the salaries that keep people fed from this enormous industry, there's just going to be more hungry mouths, and I think the wildlife is going to be even more vulnerable as a result,
Yeah, thank God there's still outfitters that are there in the areas. I know like Mark and some of the guys in Tanzania are there, and they're doing the best they can with the limited resources. But like you say, it's without anybody going there and paying for it, there's only one thing that happens, and that's going to be poaching. And it's not just animal poaching, it's tree cutting, it's all the other things that go along with it, poaching in the rivers for fish and all that, the government can't handle on their own without the income coming in. So, but
no,
tell us, so if somebody wants to make a contribution to the foundation to help out, where do they go to do that?
So we've got a website, ivancarterwca.org, and there's all kinds of information there. There's a contact us button there. There's a donate now button there. But, Alain, one of the things that we're trying to change the narrative of is we have no interest in someone just sending us money and it goes into a big dark hole. We want people to see this as an investment opportunity where they're investing in conservation and we give them tangible and measurable returns. I like your breakfast drink, by the way.
Oh, boy, that orange juice is strong.
Yeah, I can imagine. But, by looking at someone as an investor rather than just a donor, we expect them to want to see tangible returns. So we're not just going to show them that we flew their money into the helicopter or we drove their money into a Land Cruiser or we walked their money through Game Scout boots. We're going to show them a much more important thing, which is how we've caused an increase in wildlife in the areas we operate, how we've stabilized ecosystems and engaged communities and slowed down poaching. So, we brought some dogs from Texas a couple of years ago, and they've been running in the Kruger National Park as anti-poaching hounds. And, again, very much funded by the hunting community. And we literally have seen an 80% reduction in poaching incidents as a result of that. So I'm not going to tell you that the dogs ran today. I may tell you that they caught somebody, but what I'm interested in is the much bigger picture, how they have reduced poaching in the area that they're operational. And so looking at this as an investment rather than just a donation, just the language makes you feel like you're giving your money away and you're not really expecting anything back. An investment, you're expecting something back. And that's what I want. I want people to invest in us and show an interest and hold us accountable so that when they come back, we can show them how we've got more lions, we've got less poaching, we've got more rhinos, we've got a more healthy chimpanzee sanctuary. We also anchor donors to Giraffe Conservation Foundation. And over the last 3 years, through different translocations, we've regenerated 5.5 million acres of wild giraffe habitat. I mean, that is a chunk of land that had no giraffe on before we got engaged. And today has got viable populations. And so that is a worthy investment for anybody that likes conservation. It's not just a donation and we just hope that you did some good with it,
Yeah, for sure. All right. Before we get finished, we've got a whole bunch of questions that have come in from a bunch of your fans. They heard you were going to be on the show. So there's quite a few. We're going to do, first of all, though, we picked the best to do the fastest 5, we call it. So I'm going to read you 5 questions, and as I read each one, you've got to give me an answer just like that. No thinking about it, whatever comes to your mind, okay?
Okay, here we go.
Are you ready? Okay. Favorite caliber?
450 Nitro Express.
Weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Monitor lizard legs.
That wins.
Come on, you better ask these questions.
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
You broke up there.
Brunette.
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
Okay. Any tattoos you can show us?
No, sir.
Were your hardest 3 years of school 4th grade?
3rd grade, actually.
3rd grade. Okay, good. Also, we had someone send us in, have you ever worn a pith helmet when you've been guiding anybody on a safari?
No, I reserve that look for people like you. And, we've talked about going on a trip together for many years. But one thing I'm going to promise you is when that happens, and hopefully it happens within the next 18 months, we are both going to wear pith helmets because that'll be a first for me. And I wouldn't want to be seen with you without a pith helmet on.
Good point. Plus, I expect you to autograph mine for me because I need the Ivan Carter signature model pith helmet.
Perfect.
That could be a new marketing ploy. I'm just throwing that out. I mean, Well,
as long as while you're wearing it, you talk with a lisp, then we're all going to be good.
And I'm getting a monocle too. So, so get one of those. So, and then I'm going to get an accent too. Like I'll have one like yours, like, hey, well, I say, bloody good show there, Ivan.
No, that's going to suit you down to the ground. It's going to be perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So let's get our calendars out once all this is over so we can make a plan and we'll get an Ivan Carter, Alan Smith, safari somewhere We'll do some conservation work and just have a fun time. I think everybody's going to like that. That'll be a blast.
Hey, I can't wait.
All right.
I can't wait.
Thank you so much for coming on, everybody. Remember to check out Ivan's website, Ivan Carter WCA. Was that right?
That's right, ivancarterwca.org. And then I'm also really active on Instagram as well, Alan, as are you. I'm just at Ivan Carter, Ivan.Carter.
Yep, great. And you got some great posts and you've had some videos you've been playing that have been very informative. So check them out. And thanks so much for coming on, and stay safe down there, and keep your fingers crossed that we get to get out of jail here pretty quick.
I appreciate you, bud. You have a good one. Enjoy that orange juice, and we'll be in touch really soon.